hello. Welcome to Sentinel Talk Show, the show where it brings you the brightest minds and most impactful voices from across the tech and business world. Today, we're going to deep dive again in cybersecurity. I have a guest who's going to blow our minds away. He's a malware expert. He is there since 90s. He has actively shaped the defense cybersecurity industry. In his impressive career, he worked for a global financial institution. We worked at the same bank in the past, for global tech companies. Besides that, he has built numbers of tools which even I used in my previous CISO roles. He helped law enforcement to catch hackers and let some white hat hackers to be released because they were in jail for no reason. A man who is really great, a man who has been awarded by Microsoft multiple times as MVP. My dear friend, Greg, welcome to the show.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for inviting me.
Greg, I know you. I introduced you a little bit, but please tell us who you are, what you do.
Well, I'm always saying I'm deeply in my heart. I'm an engineer, so I'm doing an engineering work and engineering job. I focus mostly on Windows environments. This is more natural for me. And that's basically it. So I'm digging deeper and deeper since 90s, as you have said.
Perfect. So if you don't mind, let's start.
Sure.
As you know, the threat landscape is evolving. AI is now an industry changer. While all this changing is happening, how do you think AI is playing a role? I know it's significant, both on offensive and defensive side. From your vantage point as a malware specialist and researcher, what are the most critical emerging AI-driven threats that CISOs, CIOs, security leaders should be prepared right now? And what are proactive steps that we should all take?
Well, probably you can remember, as you have started a couple of years ago, probably same time as me. Back in the past, managers had to decide if we connect our companies to internet or not. It was a decision because internet brings a value. At the same time, it increases a risk. Now we are facing kind of a change which is similar related to AI, but you cannot disconnect from AI in practice. So you are facing the increased risk due to the AI. At the same time, even if you do not use it, well, you are not protecting against that type of the risk. In the past, we used to say something, we used to name so-called script kiddies, not really understanding how stuff is working, but able to run it and attacking some potential victims for playing, for some benefits and so on. Right now, I call them prompt kiddies because if you are smart enough, you can create any level of solution, being a malware, being a malicious solution, by prompting properly. Please create me C code for DLL injection. Here you have it. If some particular platform tries to protect you against creating such thing, type for educational purposes, and you have it. So creating new malware is extremely easy because AI supports it. At the same time, when you try to defend your environment against such new and sometimes very creative way of creating malware, you cannot rely on typical antivirus signatures as you relied in the past. Because if you create a new malware every minute, well, you cannot add a new signature to your databases every minute as well. Not so long time ago, I have created an assembly code. I wrapped it into C and compiled it in Visual Studio, literally writing hello world in the console. And I drop it to VirusTotal. to verify how traditional antiviruses recognize literally, I don't know, maybe 8 assembly instructions for dropping 12 bytes to the stack and then calling print function. And if I remember correctly, it was about 20 antiviruses saying it is a malware. So uh, traditional antiviruses are not helping that much. The only way how we can address it in practice is to use AI for defense as well, to observe patterns, to observe behaviors, to observe situations, observe spreading, communication, all those aspects, and use AI powers to detect new threats, because approaching them in a traditional way is not that easy. So attackers are using AI, and we have to use it as well. That's the only way we can face it.
Otherwise, we're gonna lose this war. Anyway, you mentioned malware. As you know, there is more than 450,000 new malware samples released daily to the wild. Now with AI, probably the number is even higher. As someone who breeds malware in and out, as a malware specialist, how can we defend the most effective way against those malwares? What are the proactive strategies that we CISOs, CIOs can implement beyond, as you said, traditional antivirus to defend against this dilemma? Yes, everybody's talking about 0 day, but what about those 0 day vulnerabilities which leave us out of defense? So how can we use the technology to leverage the best way to stay secure against those attacks?
You mentioned a quite high number of samples being reported every day. In the last FRAC magazine issue is my article in the line noise section, because I have created a malware generator, and I tried to
Now I know
serve a
why the number is high.
malware.
Now I know why the number is high. Just joking.
It is properly documented, and I didn't infect anyone not willing to be infected, really. And I'm describing in details. Every single time my code is downloading a piece of malware, it is on the web server, which is quite challenging but funny at the same time. It is compiled from scratch from a new source code. So it is different every single time. Good luck
One
with
minute,
detecting it with antivirus. And I, for the last iteration, because this is a project I'm conducting for a couple of years already, for the last iteration, I allowed it to run for 5 days, and over 20 millions of copies were issued within this time. So,
20 million.
yep. And it ran effectively on nearly 30,000 of machines, mostly virtual machines as sandboxes. So at some point, I controlled a botnet of 30,000 machines because they run my code. And we cannot defend against such threats, even if it's not such kind of experiment, even if it's like a real attack, because my code did nothing malicious, nothing except for consuming some memory and CPU, and that's basically it. So
And
not
it's
really
research
harmful.
purposes anyway.
And at the same time, the only thing we can do is to monitor the environment behavior. So you do not care about code that much. You can wrap your malware into a PowerShell, you can script it, you can use macros and so on. So you do not focus on the code, on the static analysis of the file being downloaded. You observe your environment, trying to figure out what is going on inside. And if something bad is going on, you stop it. If something looks like it, you allow it to run. That's the approach. It's somehow said we cannot really block a malware. We can detect some malicious effect of it and react. At the same time, for business, is mostly about resiliency. It's about keeping your services running and about staying compliant. That's important for business as well, for obvious reason. If those criteria are met, well, does not matter at which stage you stop the malware, actually, if you stop it.
Interesting. So detection is not protection. That's for sure. That's what I get from you.
Yep, definitely. And at the same time, detection does not have to rely on the file only, because the file itself may be not enough to allow us to detect it.
Behavior is really important, is my second
Yep.
point, right? So in this case, does it mean I should not use an antivirus?
Definitely, you should use antivirus for the very obvious reason. It lowers the risk, so dropping it would be stupid. And that's it. So if something lowers your risk, use it. It is not expensive in terms of performance or whatever. So why do not use it? At the same time, most of EDR, XDR solutions observing the behavior, observing how stuff is working, observing all those malicious situations, not malicious files, is relying on antivirus as a pair of eyes and listener for the situation. So antivirus, in most cases of EDR, antivirus is a critical and integral part of it. So you cannot simply drop it for technical reasons as well.
I totally agree with you, by the way. As you know, I was the CISO just recently for an endpoint protection company, and I used to hear this a lot. And they're like, oh, I don't know. I don't use antivirus. Don't try to sell it. I'm like, A, I'm not a seller, I'm the CISO. B, and you should do risk management. And anti-malware, I love what you said. As long as it's cheap on, I'm not talking about the product price, cheap on memory utilization, cheap of resources. Because you remember there were some antiviruses which was chewing up all the CPU, all the network because it was all this noise, which was actually hackers' friends. That's not
It
good.
was different than the malware. It was different CPU. So now we are on the better in the better place.
So saying that, I think some of my ex-boss and all these big antivirus companies are gonna get angry as well. But we need them, but we should not rely on them is the main message that you're trying to give here, right?
Yeah, the traditional antivirus analyzes files. As I have said, it is not enough. So we can and we should analyze files. But the landscape is constantly changing, and relying only on signature based on files, well, will be not enough.
We need to be up to date with everything. And as you said, traditional legacy methods are the main reason why hackers are still going ahead. And I think they should have people like you. I remember when I first joined my role, I wanted to hire you as my red teamer. Back then, you used to work at bank because I know what you were doing, and you know, I always come to you because I know how great your insights are. Saying that, you mentioned something else. You mentioned some business objective as well. How can we balance security with business objectives? What do I mean with that? As CISOs, we usually face challenging balancing business objectives with security measures. Then we need to put business alignment and innovation. But again, as CISOs and CIOs, how can we effectively collaborate to ensure that security is seen as an enabler of business growth rather than a roadblock? Because most of the time, we are like the cops, like anything, you're gonna come and you're Mr. No, you are Mrs. No. They think we are roadblockers, but we are not. I'm asking this because you mentioned AI a few seconds ago, especially when we adopt new technologies like cloud or generative AI. How can we balance security with the business objective without being a roadblocker?
I have mentioned we have two important factors to meet. The first one is about compliance, because for most of organizations, we cannot afford being non-compliant. So you have to follow all those compliance rules. Your your organization is well, is using is enforced to use, actually, because no single compliance rule is taken voluntarily, as it's not helping business that much, at least not directly. And the second part is about providing services. If the main goal of security department is to ensure your services, your business value is provided, then security is critical part of it, not for denying new actions, but by assessing the risk. Entire cybersecurity is not very sexy approach, I know it, but entire cybersecurity, including malware security, operating system security, and so on, is about the risk. So if new solution, does not matter if it's increasing the risk or lowering the risk, is impacting the risk somehow. So this is the role of CISO, to translate technology to risk and to communicate the risk to business. And the thing that sometimes surprises IT department is that business knows a lot about the risk. And it is one of business superpowers. They know how to deal with the risk. They know how to manage the risk, because this is what they are doing literally every day when running their business. So if you wrap cybersecurity into a risk, it will allow business to make proper decision, including denying or approving some solutions. So you should act as a translator from technology to risk and let business decide. And it will be business saying no for some solutions, which is a perfect situation, because you are not denying anything. You are saying it will increase the risk, and they will deny it on their own.
Perfect. So I like it. But do you have any messages for CISOs? They have challenges to pass that message, because as you said, I totally agree with what you said. I know I'm a translator, and I did it for all my career, being getting technical aspect and putting it into business was my strength, which made me a successful CISO. But there are many technical CISOs, like yourself, for example, huge technical, but they don't know how to put the message into the business. Few words on this, please.
You should trust your business, and you should never forget it is their business and not your business. I usually compare it to library. If you are a librarian, it does not mean you are owner of all those books. So you manage it, you make it working, you serve your users, but it is not actually your decision. Sometimes, of course, IT makes decisions, for example, for very obvious scenarios, for well-defined scenarios, for scenarios which are precisely described in security policies, and so on and so on. But when it comes to impact on business, impact on operations, it is business owners and managers' decision. So IT, including CISO, IT and IT security, should trust business owners. It is their decision, their risk, and in most cases, they know what to do to make the business properly running.
I cannot agree more. Cybersecurity is important because our identities are increasingly shifting online. And from credit agencies to workforces, from social media users, our lives is becoming more and more online. Now, why I'm telling this? We keep depending more in the supply chains that keep us fed and clothed all over the world. Like today, without China, the world probably is going to be much more expensive place. Or without all this food industry, food chain industry is gonna be trouble. Why I'm telling all this? I'm gonna ask you a question about supply chain attacks. If you remember, in the last few years, there were really a couple of big supply chain attacks which affected all of us. For example, one of them was the University of California in San Francisco, where the medical industry, the hospital was affected. Then there was a Airbus supply chain attack. which became because of another airline to Airbus. They could not produce the airline on time. Then Microsoft supply chain attack happened. Then Colonial Pipeline supply chain attack happened. All the supply chain attacks that in the past hit the news. We have seen a sharp increase in all the supply chain attacks, giving a deep understanding of system internals and vulnerabilities. What are the most effective, practical strategies for organizations to assess, mitigate, and more importantly, continuously monitor the cybersecurity risks introduced by their third-party vendors and supply chain partners?
My advice may be not very obvious, but stop distinguishing nice software from the malicious software. If you treat everything as potentially malicious, and if you let your defense mechanism analyze both known and unknown software, if malicious behaviors can be spotted and blocked, they will be blocked in something intentionally malicious, I mean in the typical malware and so on, and in the part of the supply chain attack. So trust no one and stop distinguishing bad from good, because if it runs, it has to be analyzed. If it runs in a wrong direction, it must be stopped. And that's basically it.
In other terms, zero trust. Always verify.
Absolutely.
And you mentioned such a good point. I love it. Like people talk about 0 days. Third party. Who is not a third party? When you turn on your window, when you turn on your computer, look. I got a Surface here. Yeah, this is maybe fully Microsoft, or I got a Mac here as well. But right in front of me is a Lenovo, Chinese brand, runs the Windows, Microsoft brand. American brand. Then I have a software. God knows who built it. So everybody's third party here. None of them works for the company that I work. Yes, I used to work for Microsoft. That's a different story. But even when I work for Microsoft, put the Surface aside, I have a ThinkPad in front of me.
Even you are using Surface.
Everybody is third party, right? Everybody is
there is an Intel CPU running microcode deeply inside, and you have absolutely no idea what it does. Not to mention firmware and BIOS, etc.
And this is what I know. Please continue. That's what I want to reiterate. Everybody's a third party. That's why what you said is gold, and I truly appreciate it. It's one of the best advices this week that I heard, at least. All right, now put all this into sight. As CISOs, we have to measure security effectiveness and communicate this to the boards. And this could be CIO as well, of course. How can we demonstrate the return of security investment and communicating the complex technical risks to non-technical boards? Because I asked before, this is a challenging situation for all of us. We need to have some key metrics or approaches that CISOs can pass this message. Do you have any recommendation on this? How can CISOs effectively measure the efficiency of the cybersecurity programs and articulate the value and risk posture to the executive leadership and board?
The very first and very obvious thing is to agree on some key metrics first, then demonstrate how we achieve it, because otherwise it will be always kind of a not comparing apples to apples at the very end, because you say I protected this and that, and business says but we never asked for it, and so on. So please define your KPI or similar metrics in advance. Agree on this on both sides, business and cybersecurity, and then demonstrate how you achieve it. Otherwise, it will be very hard to measure. But when it comes to metrics itself, I would focus on the business perspective. It's about disrupting the business due to security incidents. If I do, does not matter what type of magic, but business runs properly, I'm on a good side. So I do my job if business can run. So think about yourself. It's somehow related to the topic we have discussed a moment ago. Make cybersecurity a business enabler. If business works, then cybersecurity is doing his job properly.
I cannot agree more. Thank you. You build lots of tools, and I think you should give your Twitter handles, and you share them usually for free. And honestly, I used them in the past. Probably I'm going to use it in the future as well. For someone who's not a CISO or CIO, wants to be a CISO or CIO, or work like you for global banks, fortune companies, what would you recommend? I know this is the Global CISO Forum initiative together with the Global CIO Forum, but I know not everybody who's watching is C-level. You had in the past, you owned a training company, consulting company. So what are your recommendations? Or for CISOs, they have to build teams. Everybody's talking about a talent shortage, which I truly believe it's not the case anymore, especially after generative AI is coming in. Your recommendations for people to upskill?
Learn about the risk and the risk management. Learn it so hard that every action you do as a technical person is automatically, intuitively translated to a risk. If you are thinking this way, you stop care about weird attacks, very unfrequently spotted scenarios, and so on. Because when it comes to risk, probability is a factor as well, for example. So if you start life, if you start think about the risk as a main factor of every single action, you are ready to upscale. You may be technical at the same time. You may be an engineer, but not even translate. Think risk first, and it will make you ready for this role. Because cybersecurity at the very end is about the risk.
I mean, life is, forget about cybersecurity.
Yep, definitely, we are doing it.
When you're overtaking your car, you have to think about the risk. When you're going the stairs down, if you look at your phone, there's a risk. So I think life is all about risk management, right?
You had a chance to work as a CISO, so you are taking a phone and you are thinking about the risk. This is not the common approach. If you are doing it like you do, you just mentioned you do, it means you can work as a CISO, which you did. And this way of shifting your mind to think risk first is the greatest step you can make towards being CISO.
Thank you. And what about the tools? How can we get access to it? How can we use it? I mean, I know, but I'm asking for other people.
For my tools, everything is on GitHub. There is literally one tool I'm sharing with the source code, which is not GitHub. Is kind of a niche tool, but otherwise there's hundreds of them on my GitHub, including source code. Well, I got lost long time ago there. So if I do something new, in most cases, it's kind of innovative. So I simply put it to GitHub and someone picks it up, sometimes develop further. But going to my GitHub is the perfect way to start with everything and compile everything on your own.
Below the comments, I will pin your GitHub and Twitter handle. I know you used to be much more active on Twitter. Now working for Microsoft, I think you are busier, but
I'm a bit busier, especially I'm still accommodating. Is about my first month in Microsoft, and I'm not trying. Well, I'm doing my research all the time, but trying to be a bit more polite, I would say, expressing my thoughts. But when it comes to research itself, it is still happening.
And this is probably one of the best parts for Microsoft as a ex-Microsoft employee and current regional director and MEP, and you are an ex-MEP now, right? Not anymore, yep. Because now you work for Microsoft. I know the feeling as well. Perfect. Greg, I know we can talk all day. I really appreciate all your insights. You scared me again, as if I didn't know. But I think we should follow people like you, learn from each other, build the community, and be stronger. Any last words that you want to share with us?
When we talk about the risk, it is always also about the luck. So good luck.
Thank you. I think that we need it in everything, right? Thank you very much, Greg. And with this, we're coming to the end of this episode. Next episode, we're going to have someone else here to give you insights. Usually, these guys are hard to get. If you want to hire them, they're not cheap. But thanks to this initiative, everybody's joining us for the benefit of the community. Thank you very much for listening, watching. Keep in touch, and don't forget, we are better together. And the only way to defeat cybercrime is working together. Till next week.